Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Naomi Mbakwe.
Well, good morning and welcome. Or as they say here in our host city, bonjour et bienvenue. My name is Naomi Mbakwe, Head of Alliances at AppDirect, and I have the pleasure and privilege of being your MC for Engage 2019, AppDirect's annual Digital Economy Summit. This is my first international MC experience and AppDirect's first time hosting in Montreal. I've been here less than 24 hours and already I am deathly full of poutine, have had way too many sugar crushes from the really good Canadian maple syrup, and been lost at least twice by following the French street signs. But we are absolutely thrilled to be here. There is so much to love about this city. However, I realized before I took the stage, I didn't really know much about Montreal at all. So I thought, why not do a little bit of research and be more knowledgeable and share what I could with all of you. And here is what I discovered. The world's very first indoor hockey game was played here in Montreal in 1875. Not surprisingly, though, it kind of ended in a fist fight. You Canadians. Celine Dion, born and raised in Montreal, the youngest of 14 children, might I add, was married down the road in Notre Dame Basilica. And lastly, John Lennon and Yoko Ono's song, Give Peace a Chance, was written here during a bed-in this very hotel on June 1st, 1969, upstairs in room 1742. The theme, though, for this year's Engage is not just fun facts about Montreal. However, if anyone has any fun facts that they feel like they should share from the main stage, please come and find me after. I'd love to make us all a little more knowledgeable. But as I said, this year's theme is not just fun facts about Montreal, but about digital endurance. You will hear from our co-CEOs Dan Sachs and Nicholas Demery a little later on what digital endurance is. But why don't we talk about endurance itself for a second? Endurance is the capacity to withstand wear and tear. So think permanence, think longevity, think durability. Maybe some of you enjoyed long flights to be here today. Endurance could apply to my mum, who's sitting down here in the front row all the way from Sydney, who's endured 35 years of childcare. Sorry, Mum. Endurance can apply to companies that last decades or centuries. Or perhaps athletes, like endurance runners. Now, I am not one of these. I don't do marathons, I don't do half marathons. The longest I've ever run was a 10-mile bike accident. But did you know that the minimum distance for an ultramarathon is 31 miles? Gross. Because as if running that distance isn't crazy enough, one man by the name of Dean Karnazes actually holds the world record for running the longest distance without stopping. Think Forrest Gump. Now, Dean ran 350 miles across Northern California. Yes, 350 miles continuously without stopping, which means he ran for 80 hours and 44 minutes without stopping to rest, sleep, or eat. Talk about endurance. To add insult to injury to those of you, including myself, who had already felt now after hearing Dean's story you hadn't achieved enough in life, Dean also ran a marathon every day for 50 days straight across 50 of the US states. If you think I'm joking, I'm not. He wrote a book about it. So as I looked to see what other crazy feats of endurance people had completed, I came across the Self-Transcendence 3,100-mile race. Yes, 3,100 miles. This race takes place in Queens, New York, where athletes run between 6 a.m. to midnight, keep tracking with me, for up to 52 days straight, where they complete 5,649 laps around that city block. I definitely do not understand why anyone would put themselves through that. Oh wait, except I found out what the prize was. A t-shirt a DVD, or a small trophy? I think I'd take the DVD, #digital endurance. Upon registration, you would have received a water bottle. Now, I am told this is not like any water bottle. This water bottle keeps liquids either hot or cold for up to 24 hours. Feat of endurance in itself. The company that makes this water bottle actually uses innovative technology that was developed over 120 years ago. So know that whether you are using this water bottle on your next ultramarathon, said no one ever, or on your next long flight home, know that even its use symbolizes endurance. We'll be talking a lot about endurance over the next few days, specifically what digital endurance is and how AppDirect is helping companies like all of you in this room to digitally endure. We have some amazing guest speakers lined up. Former CFO of Google, Wharton Professor of the School of Management, keynotes from customers like Comcast, Keller Williams, Vodafone. We have our Powered by AppDirect showcase out there in the foyer, where you will see, if you haven't taken a look already, you will see the Verifone, point of sale systems, the ABB Yumi robot making coffee. I have a video, it is phenomenal. The beautiful 2020 Range Rover Evoque, which features AppDirect powered in-vehicle live applications. We'll have the celebration of AppDirect's digital heroes and our very own elevated silent disco of sorts tomorrow. I know you're all thinking, what is that? Don't worry, all will be revealed tomorrow. But as you can imagine, these events do not just fund themselves, and to that, we really want to thank our sponsors. To our sponsors who are here, thank you for your partnership. We are forever grateful. All right, last couple of things before we get this thing kicked off. One, if you haven't already, but you all have because you're all registered, you have your badges, you are here. However, if you need any logistics directions, where the breakout rooms are, where the bathroom is, where the lunchroom is, but everyone knows where food is because if you're like me, you love food, it's just next door. However, if you need any help, just please go see the friendly team at the registration booth. Number two, if you haven't already, pull out your smartphone. Please go and download the Engage app, so either from the Play Store or the Apple Store. It will have all you need in there around the attendee directory, the full schedule of events, and all the info you need to make the most out of Engage. Lastly, for all you social media influencers out there, I'm going to need you to use your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, even your Pinterest accounts, and use the #ADEngage for all your social media postings. Okay, I think that's it. So, who's ready for Engage 2019? Let's try this one more time. Who's ready for Engage 2019? Without further ado, please welcome to the stage AppDirect President and Co-CEO, Dan Sachs.
Good morning! Woo! This is such a special moment for me and my co-founder Nicholas, because after 10 years in business, we're bringing our premier global conference right here to our home country of Canada and our city of Montreal, where Nicholas grew up and I went to McGill University. Thank you for coming from around the world. I'm so grateful. As I mentioned, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for each and every one of you. Loyal team members, long-standing customers, supportive investors, and just cheerleaders of AppDirect and our mission of making technology accessible globally. This is a special time because we have accelerated the digital economy together. We have answered some key questions that were unknown many years ago. Today, as technology becomes more and more deep-rooted in everything we do, every company must be a digital company in order to endure. Now, how do we become a digital company? How do we digitally transform? How do I think about evolving one product into an ecosystem? How do I cultivate a culture of innovation for success? These are the questions that are asked to me and other people across the AppDirect team. And after 10 years in business, we have some exciting insights and lessons learned that we're going to share, both from ourselves and our team, but even more importantly, from our customers who have been there and experienced it, on what works and what doesn't in your digital transformation journey. So what we're going to do today is take you on a journey, past, present, and future, to unlock the secrets to success in the digital economy. Now, our journey started back in 2009 out of an apartment in San Francisco. If you recall, at the time, the world was a completely different place. It was the height of the Great Recession, and businesses around the world were struggling to be productive. The access to technology and capital was limited to large companies like a Walmart or an Amazon. But the small company had very little access, and it caused businesses on Main Street around the world to go out of business and shut their doors. It actually looked pretty bleak for the future of entrepreneurship. But something special was happening in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley, back in 2009, had a secret sauce of talent from companies like Google and Salesforce, where our CTO, Andy Sen, built the original app exchange. They had an ecosystem of investors like Sequoia and Excel that had funded many, many companies for generations. They had schools like Stanford that pioneered entrepreneurs from around the world. And that created and cultivated an ecosystem that was founded upon taking risk to succeed. Now, Nick and I's belief was that the ethos of Silicon Valley isn't physically rooted, but it's a culture that could be transplanted around the globe. So we set off on a journey, country by country, in order to bring the culture of Silicon Valley to the world. Our vision of making technology accessible globally continues. And the simple thought we had is, can't we make business technology as easy to use as music on your phone? Today, we have access to the world's information, the world's library of music in our fingertips on our phone with Spotify. However, for business technology, it still remains tough. You have to go to separate places to get your telecom and utilities and set up your bank account and your payments. And then software, forget about it. It doesn't work together, and it's a very, very big struggle. But those amongst us in this room have the vision that we can make software as easy to use as music. We share that vision every day, and we're transplanting it around the globe. The first country we went to was this home country of Canada. We were very proud to have sponsorship from Stéphane Boisvert, the president of Bell Business, who we're going to hear from tomorrow. And we had the vision of taking cloud technology and bringing it to businesses across Canada. At the time in Canada, it was very different than it is today. Talent, when I went to McGill and school here, you'd want to be in investment banking, maybe consulting, maybe a profession. But the idea of technology, it just wasn't there. There was very limited funding. The education, again, wasn't really deep-rooted in taking risk or entrepreneurship. There was an ecosystem maybe starting, but nothing like it is today, where you have companies like Shopify and Lightspeed, and you have investors like Inovia Capital that are totally changing the ecosystem of the Montreal environment, where it feels like Silicon Valley was a decade ago. Companies ranging from Lightspeed, Element AI, Ibido Labs, pioneering things right here from Montreal. It's game-changing. But again, remember, that was not the case 10 years ago. Our next step was to Germany. The funny thing about Germany is, when I first went to make our first business trip with our customers at Deutsche Telekom, everyone in the room, focus groups and all, said, there is no way we will ever trust an American company with our data. There is no way we will ever use cloud. Never. And that was said through a translator because I didn't understand Germany as much at the time. But Lutz and the Deutsche Telekom team had a vision for addressing the Mittelstand, which is small and medium businesses across Germany. And in just a few months, AppDirect and Deutsche Telekom had the foresight to bring the cloud to Germany. And they took all those objections and squashed them by launching on stage at Europe's biggest IT conference, CeBIT, with Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, and René Overman, the CEO of Deutsche Telekom. Fast forward several years, and cloud is the predominant way people are using business technology across Germany. And the fabric of what we started there turned into GDPR and a way of trusting and thinking about having secure data in new countries. Over the last few years, we really shifted the German economy in the way they think about taking risk, safeguarding from a security perspective, and thinking about data privacy. And those are lessons that we can bring to others around the world that are slower movers to adopt the risk and take the change that we want to see. Now, our journey has continued across most of Europe, Asia, Latin America. We represent customers in over 37 countries and have paid business subscribers in over 147 countries as well. We've seen explosive growth in the number of business subscribers paying and using our software every day. And that's incredibly exciting to us because it's a great measure of the value of our ecosystem. What we see is that with a cohort of people in this room, today and moving over the next few years, we can accelerate to over 20 million business customers, again, just with the people in this room. But with the rate of which our ecosystem is growing, it is definitely within reach to achieve 100 million business subscribers on our platform within the next 10 years. And what that will do is completely transform the fabric of the global economy by enabling businesses, big and small, to be productive and by fueling the future of work. Now, in the next few years, we anticipate a global economy with companies across different industries, manufacturing companies opening up to IoT and turning into digital companies, traditional software companies becoming SaaS companies, telecom companies becoming service providers, content providers, and selling all different types of things. We believe every company can be a digital company. So if that's the case, how do we help people make this digital transformation? Well, we define digital transformation in two simple ways. The first, what products do you want to sell? The second, what digital channels do you want to sell them through? Last year, we introduced the concept of our digital transformation value framework using the answers to these two questions. And we discovered data from customers around the room and around the globe on what works and what doesn't. And we've been able to build a business model rooted in concrete data that can showcase how you can transform your business, drive revenue for your business, and drive real value. That framework has been validated by external firms like Forrester to give you the confidence to take this business model to your company and drive the change you want to see. Now, simply what we say is, how do you take your company, which might be focused on selling one core product, and expand it to be able to sell multiple products from multiple vendors? No longer can a company just sell with what they develop themselves. They need to open up to an ecosystem of third parties that will enable them to thrive. But not only that, they need to be able to access an omni-channel experience because customers today demand to buy what they want, where they want, when they want. Whether that's online through an app store, through your website, whether that's through physical devices, like buying services right on a robot, like ordering coffee, or on a car to order updated maps or weather. Other channels include your Salesforce, telesales, but all those touch points need to have a unified experience and the ability to bring new products to market in an agile way. However, the challenge that faces businesses today is that results in a fragmented IT ecosystem. So as businesses are envisioning their digital transformation, they can't just take their old legacy systems, business processes, and culture and uproot it to the cloud. That results in a failed transformation. What they need to do is reimagine their business processes, the culture of their people, and the systems to be agile, to bring new products to market in a very fast way. Last year, we introduced the concept of multi-dimensional commerce, or the ability to sell multiple products from multiple vendors across multiple channels on multiple devices. Over the last year, we've captured case studies and got our technology in the hands of many of you to be able to reinforce concepts that you're going to hear today that will help you drive that transformation journey. Now, what we recognize is that transformation is hard. If you don't have the right approach to transformation, it actually results in a failed approach, where essentially, as you try to bring new products to market, you can't because your back office systems don't support it. Therefore, your revenue potential is limited, your expenses go up as you add more products through more channels, your time to market goes down, and the customer experience is fragmented. That results in companies like Toys R Us and the numerous retailers struggling and ending up going out of business, and many others today, whether it's in industries ranging from automotive, manufacturing, software, or others, facing challenge if they don't innovate. However, the good news is we've uncovered the successful digital transformation roadmap. And what that is essentially enabling you to bring new products to market faster across all your channels, unlocking your revenue potential, lowering expenses, speeding time to market, and ultimately driving a totally transformed customer experience. And that's what Engage is all about. It's about helping you learn the lessons of those across the community and helping you drive a successful transformation of your business in order to endure. This is just the beginning. What we want to challenge you to do is to learn the tools and techniques here and be inspired to go back within your organizations. As we've realized, change comes down to the individuals that have the courage, vision, and foresight to transform their organizations. We call that a digital hero. Many of you sit in this room, so excited to recognize the digital heroes tomorrow at the event. Throughout this conference, please learn from each other, ask each other questions, collaborate, because our success is fully dependent on our ability to learn from each other, drive meaningful change, and to endure. And with that, I am thrilled to bring my co-founder, Nicholas Desmarais, to the stage to share more about digital endurance. Woo!
Thank you, Dan. We're thrilled to have you here for Engage 2019. We're living in incredibly exciting times. 3 breakthroughs are reshaping our civilization into a software-defined one. These breakthroughs are working together to usher in an economic revolution greater than all the previous ones combined. The first of these breakthroughs is nanotechnology, the force making computation exponentially more powerful until matter becomes software-defined. The second is artificial intelligence, the force making digital matter smart until almost all mental, physical, and biological tasks become automated. And the third, biotechnology, the force converging our digital and biological lives until almost every technological interface that we experience as a natural extension of ourselves. Many industry forecasts attempt to express the scale of this digital Cambrian-sized explosion that will be produced by these breakthroughs. But when we stare at graphs, we often lose sight of the bigger picture, the human experience and consequence. So for fun, we're going to show you a picture of 4 devices that scales to size the ubiquity and intimacy with which we're going to experience these forces at work in our lifetime. So it might not look like it, but this picture has 4 devices on it. The first, a mainframe weighing nearly a ton, but that can only process about 5,000 transactions per second. Now, if we fast forward to the early 2000s, we of course have an iPhone that can fit in our pocket and process over 5 trillion operations per second. And when many of us think of a digital revolution, the narrative stops here. But in reality, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. If we zoom in 1/3 millionth of the size, we have literal smart dust. This is a prototype that came out recently of a camera that is 120 millionth of meter in diameter and size, smaller than a grain of sand, but that can take sharper images than many of the cameras that we've used in our lifetime. And actually, what's really amazing is that this barely scratches the surface of what we're going to experience in our lifetime. If we zoom in further, 1/3 millionth of the size of this device, we have a device that's currently being worked on that is smaller than a red blood cell. This device is designed to carry oxygen to our organs. So as ridiculous as this may sound, a beating heart, we might actually have an app for that. If a device carries oxygen to your organs, you actually technically don't need a heart. So that's pretty wild. But the point of this illustration is I really want to bring home the idea that there's a vast ocean of digital possibility between the smart cellular device in your pockets and the smart cellular device that will one day course through veins. And we can measure the breadth and depth of this ocean, digital ocean, by looking at the amount of data manufactured by these endpoints, digital endpoints. And what we have here is a graph of stored data over time. And you could forgive almost anyone for looking at this graph and think, given how steep these curves are, that we've reached peak data generation capacity. But when we zoom out, we realize that we're only looking at 1980 to 2000. And when we look at the next period, the highest bar here does not even show up in the next time period, from 2000 to 2020. And this conveys the power of exponential growth and helps us better extrapolate the next period that we're about to experience between 2020 and 2040, where again, the peak data generation that we've experienced does not even show up in this next curve. If we had scaled all 3 graphs to the y-axis of the first graph from 1980 to 2000, you would have needed a chart the size of this building to convey the amount of data that's going to be manufactured in our society. In this way, the further back we look, the further in our future we see. When we look at the cause and effect of economic revolutions, powerful patterns emerge that should inform business scenario planning. The first of these patterns is that breakthroughs lead to economic revolutions. The steam engine led to the first, mass production technology to the second, you have silicon technologies and the internet to the third, and these breakthroughs will bring us inevitably the fourth. The second pattern is, unfortunately, the vast majority of companies that exist before a revolution will not exist by the time the revolution is over. Only 50 of the original Fortune 500 companies are still around today from 1950. But these are actually replaced by far more companies not less. There are 30% more companies per capita today than there were in 1950. And all this leads to prosperity. Breakthroughs improve productivity per capita, which improves economic surplus, which drives earning power. And we often forget this. There are ebbs and flows, but if we look at the data over a long period of time, earning power per capita in the early 20th century in the United States was under $5,000. We're now 10x that by the early 21st century. But what's interesting is not just these patterns and learning from them, but also looking at the interpretation of them by our society. And the one thing that comes to mind, of course, is that we glorify disruptors as the bedrock of our new economy. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. We're thankful for disruptors. But we don't talk a lot about endurers, interestingly enough. Endurers, companies that are over 75 years old, that have weathered economic storm after economic storm, they form the bellwethers of our economy. You could just pick 5 endurers, and alone they would outweigh in revenue and asset under management every unicorn founded over the last 20 years. And in fact, even if you take the top 100 IPOs over the last 10 years, they would outweigh that as well. And what's interesting is that when you look at this historical data, it helps quantify digital growth strategies, but also quantify digital growth, but also qualify digital strategies against enduring principles. So we decided to go and look at existing studies of how some companies endure for enduring success while so many get left behind, to unearth some of these principles that should inform our strategies. And these works reveal 5 principles that we believe are critical to not just enduring, but thriving through economic revolutions, past, present, and future. So let's take a look at these principles. The first is that endurers maintain harmony. They stay sensitive to their economic environment, always learning and adapting to changing times and trends. You don't endure in a steady, static state. You need to harmonize with the world you do business in. The second of these principles is embrace decentralization. Endurers build constructive relationships with other entities, both outside and inside themselves. They display amazing awareness of ecology. The third is they grow effortlessly. Endurers take the most cost-effective path to market, the path of least resistance. They grow often through channel partners and finance growth through partner returns so that they can govern their own evolution effectively. They build value hubs. They achieve category leadership by aggregating cohesively more value, the spokes, around their core business, the hub, than their rivals. But they achieve this while maintaining a flexible corporate identity that doesn't constrain shifting and expanding their center of activity to stay current. And finally, endurers control their supply chains. They're very good at controlling their input and output costs. They exert great control over cost leakage from the point of product conception to consumption. So what we're going to do now is talk through these 5 principles and look at why digital trends make these principles more important now than ever. What digital strategies can help you succeed at these principles in the new economy, and digital examples of who does this well. So when we look at the first principle about harmonizing with your environment, why do digital trends make this so important? Well, when you look at the digital revolution and the new economy, it's very disruptive, these technologies, because they allow startups to become incredibly more competitive on both value and price, collapsing barriers to entry. So what this means is that it makes it very hard for large organizations with a monolithic product offering targeting a homogeneous market to compete against legions of entrepreneurs segmenting their market by demographic or geography or industry. And the reality is that these new economic dynamics are shifting the very economic curves that companies are founded on. If the y-axis is revenue and the x-axis companies, most markets sorted from largest to smallest, most markets are defined by a long tail curve, with a few suppliers dominating the high end, and then a long tail of companies. Now, two things is going to happen to most markets. First, the revenue curve will flatten and move down as competition increases, segmenting your market with increasingly better and more focused value propositions. The second is that the marginal cost curve is also coming down as technology democratizes economies of scale. So what does this all mean? It means that while vertical scaling in the economy of physical good distribution worked really well, in the economy of digital services, the new curves limit vertical scaling. And this is why the principle is important. You can't resist. You need to harmonize with the trends, the new economic times, by bringing down the cost curve for new entrants to enter your market, and then horizontally scaling by taking a percentage of every sale. So now let's look at what digital strategies can help you shift from vertical to horizontal scaling. And the first step is to rethink the way we're so used to looking at these markets. Again, when we look at these markets, and almost any analyst report will show you, of course, revenue on the y-axis, time on the x-axis, and then this is sliced by functions. But we can simplify this into meta functions. And we can agree that most functions can fit in one of three categories, keep things simple: produce, distribute, or consume goods and services. And now we can look at it also through a third dimension, industry sector. And now we can ask, what are the functions of production, distribution, consumption that service, say, the hospitality, transit, media sector? And now it becomes clear what digital leaders do so well. They become platforms for aggregating the functions to service the given industries that they're in. Airbnb, for example, offers all the features and functions to enter the hospitality space, but then take a healthy percentage of every sale. So they horizontally scale by becoming platforms. There are multi-sided platforms that invite third parties to develop inventory, sell inventory, and consume inventory on the platform. And this also sheds light into why these companies all share one thing in common. They don't hold inventory, right? Airbnb doesn't own or hold any rooms, Uber does not own any cars, and Facebook does not own any content. And that ultimately is a great indication that they are powerful platforms. Principle 2, embrace decentralization. Why are trends making this principle so important today? The cost of computing is declining rapidly, and this fuels endless application development, and that is raising customer expectations. And this surge in applications can threaten even the most feature-complete platform because it makes it so much easier for your prospects and your customers to choose alternatives, such as build in-house, given the fact that the cost of computing has gone down so dramatically. Or integrate a third-party stack of applications, given the rise in availability and optionality of applications. Or simply move to another platform that is developing a lot of features and often at a loss, funded by outside capital. These trends are putting a lot of pressure. And the key here is that decentralization of development helps you reconcile the explosion in R&D costs required to keep up with feature asks with the implosion in willingness to pay given the rise in low-cost optionalities. So insurers are very good at promoting decentralization by inviting third parties to develop and sell on their platform. And that allows them to build a moat against these third-party business alternatives by outpacing feature asks at a low cost because they can rely on the partners. So strategically, how do you shift from a centralized to decentralized development approach? And we found that one of the keys to doing that is treating your third-party developers, onboarding and selling their services as you would your own. This doesn't just show them that you care, it drives measurable sell-through results without having to reinvent the wheel. Over the last decade, powering ecosystems for decentralized development and third-party developers, we've identified 5 principles that are critical to onboarding and selling your developers as you would your own. The first of these is about integration. You need to integrate your store to your existing systems, whether it be website, identity, billing, data systems, because that reduces conversion friction. If you require your customers to for example, if you have an add-on store, your app store, to go to a different website, enter different credentials to sign on, different payment instruments, that will make conversions really hard. The second is flagship products. We found that marketplaces that can attract a few, even a flagship known brand, really helps drive marketing pull instead of expensive push. So often, even if you have an add-on store, some people think, oh, if I have an add-on store, I might not need a third-party brand. We do advise that even if you have an add-on store, to try to bring on some well-known brands to attract other developers and customers to your store. Finally, you need to turn on the channel. This is a common misperception in the digital economy. Software is not found. A website is not going to sell your software. It's not found, it's sold. And in fact, we found that maybe not for subsequent products, but for the first product you sell, often it requires up to 4 human touch points to make that transaction go through. So ultimately, if you ain't selling, they probably ain't buying. Then you have the human element. When you develop an ecosystem, in a sense, you often become the indirect channel for those applications. Often, those applications in your ecosystem may also have their own websites. So if customers buy through you indirectly, that's often what we found is that it's because they're expecting a better white glove experience, support with onboarding, with migrations, with customizations. And this is not just a great value-added service for conversions, it helps drive activations, which improves engagement and retention. Bundle contracts. If you can create a financial package that includes your core services bundled with third-party services, we found that this is very helpful because it helps you leverage your existing sales team without having to retrain them. They're familiar with those products. And on top of it, contracts helps you build larger total contract values. And that's good because it allows you to afford paying for spiffs and upfront rewards for your sales reps. And the contract also prevents you from going in the red if there's churn. If you include termination fees. Now, let's look at an example of this on our network. We have powerful data that we've accumulated over the last many years showing a great correlation between the growth of sell-through on our network versus the amount of best practices that marketplaces accomplish. So if the y-axis here is revenue, sell-through on marketplaces on the network, and the x-axis is the average number of best practices marketplaces grouped by the number of best practices they accomplish. If you get to above 5 best practices, we've seen growth rates of above 20 to 30% per month. So the results are very telling, and this has been very consistent over the years. So these best practices are fundamental to succeeding in developing your ecosystem, which again is the cornerstone of decentralized development. Growing effortlessly. Principle 3. Why are digital trends making this really important? The digital economy makes the insurer's approach to lowering customer costs of acquisition through channel partners indispensable for 2 reasons. First is that the supply of channel partners is rapidly expanding. The reason why is that startup costs are coming down, given web-based services. Marketing costs are also coming down, given new media. And inventory risk, digital inventory is often non-perishable and does not require upfront buying, so that also is less risky. And these trends are opening a floodgate for channel-based entrepreneurship. And this is why we're seeing this huge rise in affiliate marketing, in dropshipping, wholesaling, D2C companies. What's interesting on the other side of the coin is that demand for channel partners is also on the rise because there's heightened customer expectations for trusted service assurance. And the reason for this is that in the digital economy, web-based services produce data, and that creates trust issues. And they often rely on recurring business models. And those recurring models make service paramount. And small businesses, which are channel partners, tend to benefit from this. They have a huge comparative advantage when it comes to trusted service assurance because of their local and personal presence. So the question is, going direct, we believe, will become increasingly difficult because you need to compete against millions of channel-based businesses for the same ad dollars and local relationships. So you can swim against the tide, or you can harness it. And again, some of this is similar to the trends underlying the vertical to horizontal scaling principles. So from a digital strategy standpoint, how do you make the shift from direct to indirect go-to-market? And what we found is that there are 5 mutually reinforcing characteristics that are very important to building a successful channel partner program that allows you to make this shift. The first of these is economics. If you don't have incentives, it's very hard to attract channel partners. So you need to be fair and, to a certain extent, generous with them. That includes rewards, fair recurring revenue shares, and importantly, the ability to bundle in value-added services. We then have education. You need to enable them in the same way as you would enable your own sales reps, or they're going to have a hard time selling. Extensibility. You need to be able to integrate and provision your core services from your partner's core traffic flows with single sign-on in one bill to reduce any conversion in onboarding and selling. We then have automation. If you have delays in order fulfillment for your service or in payouts to monies owed to your channel partners, that's gonna hurt your partner's customer relationships and also will hurt, obviously, their solvency. And finally, we have transparency. Offering real-time data on performance and monies owed motivates, and also builds trust. So if we look at a quick example of that, and there are many, Microsoft is telling, because they've had explosive growth, more than tripling cloud sales over the last couple of years. I believe, I don't want to be misquoted, but I think they're above $40 billion now in cloud sales. But the pace of that growth is astounding, and it caught a lot of people off guard. But one of the big reasons is 90% of that growth is channel-led, which is very impressive. They invest a lot in education, whether it be webinars. They have an entire education center with all the assets you would ever need to equip your sales reps. They're extensible. They have APIs for almost every function and feature in their portal. They automate onboarding and most operations for their channel and their portal, and also offer transparency with report and dashboards. Again, this is an easy example to show, but the point is, when we look at those that do very well in this new economy, there's a tendency that the model looks like this. So now we're going to talk about principle 4, value hubs. Insurers compete to stand out as the leading value hub, center of activity and excellence for experiencing a distinct value proposition. They become leading value hubs in their domain, again, by aggregating more value, the spokes, than their competitors. But what's fascinating is that technology can dislodge even the most favored of value hubs by shifting the dimension through which customers want to experience a value proposition. So let's look at how this plays out over time. With the first industrial revolution, customers expected companies to act as application hubs. They compete on how you experience the product. They're selling on feature and function. And then came, all of a sudden, the second industrial revolution. And now companies are projecting themselves as lifestyle hubs. They're now competing on how you experience your environment. They're selling physical, social status. And then came along the third industrial revolution. And with it, first it brought the social hubs, which is all about how we experience each other's lives. They're selling community. And then the digital hubs emerge, which compete on how we experience interconnectivity and interoperability between users, applications, and devices, which are the basis of these other hubs. But now, we have the fourth industrial revolution. And this is moving us from a world where anyone can publish to a world where anyone can make. First, barriers to making software came down. Now, barriers to making anything. In a world where anyone can make, differentiation is king. Companies differentiate by sharpening their focus until they start competing on personalization. In this way, personal hubs are emerging, and they're competing on how we experience ourselves. They're selling, effectively, better states of being. So how do we shift strategically from the old mindset of how does a customer make you a better company through customization to how can you make a customer a better person through personalization? And this new paradigm, it's all about making the individual as a person, not a customer, sit center stage. So the person, these personal hubs, the person sits at the center of the hub, and they interconnect all these other hubs. It's not like these other hubs go away. They can interconnect how we experience the applications that make our lives better. The operating environments that we stare at, but increasingly live in, like our connected home and connected car, and networked users. So for fun, I wanted to walk through an example. Bulletproof coffee, really popular in California right now. But I just noticed there's a Bulletproof coffee in Montreal, so that's pretty amazing. So it's spreading. But I specifically did not want to take a technology company because I wanted to show that these principles really apply to any company. So I want to take something brick and mortar, or a bit more brick and mortar, coffee bean business. And Bulletproof coffee is quite fascinating because they don't compete for share of Coffee Bean wallet. They work hard to contribute a better share of well-being through coffee beans. So what does this mean? They put the person center stage and show them how to better experience themselves as a biohacker, a term that they coined. And the way they do this is they show you how, hey, you're not just buying coffee from us. We're going to show you how to alter the chemistry of coffee with ghee and extracted, I think, coconut oil to build exogenous ketones, which is good for your brain. I'm not getting into the biology of it. That doesn't really matter. What is important is that they're not selling coffee beans. They're selling the biohacking lifestyle, and they're doing that very effectively, complete with apparel and the blue light glasses. And ultimately, what's happened now is they're now seen by millions of biohackers as the primary application hub for delivering all features and functions of said lifestyle. They also offer the social hub, both online and physically, where biohackers can meet and share ideas. And also, of course, the digital hub with the lifestyle podcasts and the social forums and the commerce site for the application hub and a unified identity bringing all this together. It's fun doing this exercise. Most technology companies that you look at, whether it be Salesforce with their trailblazers instead of biohackers, you can see that a lot of these leading companies in the economy develop a very clear persona around the customer and how they can make them excel at what they do in life. And that is a new trend that is very important. So now we're going to go to supply chains, the fifth trend. And why is this so important today? We've seen that companies really struggle to onboard digital services and the amount of time and expense it takes to get them, again, from the point of conception to consumption. And the reason for this is they often suffer breakpoints in the collection of processes involved in moving the digital service from the point of conception to consumption. And effectively, what happens is that their digital supply chain breaks, often without anyone noticing, unlike a physical supply chain where we're all, very, alert and aware of what's happening. They break as you layer on often more complex commerce use cases. So if we look at an example, when companies move from selling a single service to many services, through many partners, through many channels on many devices, these companies become paralyzed by the integration point multiplier effect. So what does this mean? You need to onboard a digital service, so you have to integrate it. If you're integrating one service, you have identity systems, you have billing systems, CRM, etc. On average, what we found is there's 4 to 5 integrations for a single service. But margin, more and more, doesn't exist in selling a singular service. It's all about selling a holistic solution, and that involves often coupling it with other services and sometimes third-party services. So let's say your bundle has 4 services. So now you got 20 integration endpoints. And now you want to push this through your channels, whether it be your consumer division or SMB or enterprise. Within that division, you have your website or your reseller network. And what we found is that these channels often all have their own systems, their own identity systems, their own billing systems. So now all of a sudden you got 5 times 20, you got over 100 integrations. It's getting expensive. So, and what's interesting is what we found is it's not only expensive in time and resource to onboard, but every time you need to change anything, it's very costly. And the biggest cost is how do you iterate, build a lean product methodology to iterate quickly around your customers to stay ahead of the curve. So what we found is that one of the key strategies is shifting from single-sided to multidimensional commerce. So what does this mean? It means that the capabilities of your subscription commerce value chain, that x-axis, so all the features and functions of your subscription commerce platform, such as product catalog management, relationship management, opportunity management, billing management, etc., You need to support the different dimensions of your digital supply chain. That is, all the steps involved in getting a product to market. I've simplified it here. You may have way more. But usually, at a high level, you need to sell your service with third-party services through many partners, many channels, on any device. And then it sheds light on what digital transformation is all about. You need to make sure that your digital transformation roadmap touches on all the points where your subscription commerce value chain touches your supply chain. So, sounds a little theoretical, but why don't we look at how this works in practice? What we encourage our partners to do is to look at this map and map out your own systems, your process for taking your digital services to market as a solution. And what we find is usually when you look at, again, let's take one capability of a commerce value chain, let's take billing. You can invoice for your own products. That makes sense. And most billing companies service the first row really well, but start to fail as you add on more rows. Multi-vendor. Can you add other vendors easily to your bill? Many will say yes, but some manual steps, so it's not quite green. We'll put it yellow. Can you let your resellers very easily brand the invoice? That's an important part of having a reseller program. Often it's a co-branded invoice, or they'll have the invoice themselves. Delegate, especially if you have a two-tier distribution program. And maybe the answer is no. And then you can continue. Identity and access management. Okay, I get single sign-on for my services, but I don't have single sign-on for my partners. That's friction in your supply chain. And as you continue this exercise, you get a sense, and these numbers are just, you could probably add a few zeros in terms of how much it'll cost you. You look at all the different places in your supply chain where there's cost leakage for taking a product to market with many services from many channels on many devices. So, again, there are 5 principles, and these strategies require you to make shifts. Shift from vertical to horizontal scaling, from centralized to decentralized development, from direct to indirect go-to-market, from customization to personalization, and from single to multidimensional commerce. And with that, I'd like to invite Michael Casson, our head of product, to talk a bit about the features, functions in our technology, and how tactically you can use these to solve for these strategic shifts. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. Well, so Nicholas mentioned, if you could follow all that, he was mentioning building value hubs a little while back, and he mentioned bulletproof coffee. I could use some, actually. But I can't really offer all of you coffee right now, but what I can do is ask you to maybe all just stand up for a quick second and, get a little loose, maybe, move the feet, feeling good, get some blood flowing. I want you to guys get excited for talking about AppDirect product. You ready to talk about AppDirect product? All right. Good. All right, take a seat. Okay, well, what I'd like to show you is how the 5 principles that Nicholas was mentioning earlier about digital endurance are at the heart of how me and my team think about building product here at AppDirect. So let's walk through each one. The first principle is about maintaining harmony. It's about the transition from vertical to horizontal scaling. And that means becoming a platform on which others access their customers so that you can take a piece of every transaction. Thanks to many of you in the room here, AppDirect is the industry leader in offering the technology and tools necessary to build highly differentiated marketplaces. But that's not enough for AppDirect to just sell marketplaces. I mean, don't get me wrong, we love selling marketplaces. But to enable you all to scale horizontally in the digital economy, you need to be the platform on which other companies scale. That's why I'm really excited to mention right now that you all can increase reach and create competitive advantage by selling marketplaces yourselves. So to start scaling horizontally, please reach out to your account managers and ask them about joining our early adopter program. Okay, so whether you're selling multiple, or you have multiple marketplaces of your own, or you're selling marketplaces to others, our new network manager allows you to manage all those catalogs across marketplaces efficiently and at scale, and then track their performance with robust reporting. Okay, the next principle is about transitioning from centralized to decentralized product development. Now, to make this shift, Nicholas mentioned 5 best practices for treating third-party services as you would your own. And many of our customers have had great success applying these practices. But how can your customers even find what they need if you don't first give them an amazing storefront experience? Over the last year, a lot of you have been building unique and differentiated user experiences using our Storefront Builder Toolkit. That's a set of developer tools that allow you to all to completely rewrite the HTML, CSS of your websites, of your storefronts. But we knew we wanted to make that powerful technology available not just to developers, but to everyone. Now, with our easy-to-use storefront theme editor, you can create unique user experiences with drag-and-drop ease, iterating and optimizing, all without knowing how to code. Okay, the next innovation I want to talk about is dynamic segments. So this is a powerful tool that you can use to create as many segments as you want, and to do things like show enterprise customers, enterprise products, SMB customers, SMB products. You can build sophisticated segmenting criteria and then dynamically apply those to both existing users as well as new users as they register on your storefronts. Okay, so that covers principles 1 and 2. And now what I'd like to do is bring Jasper Crocker up on the stage, and he's going to pick it up with principle number 3, grow effortlessly.
I'm going to show you the tools that AppDirect has built to enable you to grow your indirect sales channel in the digital economy. Today's economy is increasingly for the self-employed. Resellers, drop shippers, independent media creators. Barriers to self-employment have never been lower. AppDirect is helping you become a platform so that you can attract these hardworking, talented, entrepreneurially spirited individuals looking for opportunity. Now, Nick spoke about these 5 facets for indirect growth earlier. And we think about these principles when we look at how we build our product, App Reseller. The first principle around economics, AppDirect enables you to negotiate on the markup price with every single company you work with to resell your services. So you can give differentiated value and price to specific resellers based on what they've earned. With education, we offer a help center so that you can educate and figure out how to build your reseller program with all the tools and capabilities you need, and enable your resellers with the documentation so they can integrate their services, as well as giving links and tutorials and videos to your resellers so that they can better sell your services. Around extensibility, we have a dashboard that allows you to link to external things beyond AppDirect, so you can enable your resellers with all the tools and capabilities even beyond what we offer. For automation, we have webhooks and abilities to connect to our APIs so that your resellers can create end-to-end seamless experiences through all the products they have to use to get through their lifecycle so that they can scale effectively. And last, for transparency, we have dashboards, graphs, and insights that you as a reseller manager can see, giving you visibility into how all your resellers are performing. And we give those same types of metrics and visibility into the resellers as well, so they can learn how their business is doing. Now, one area we've spent a lot of time over the last year investing in is opportunities. This is where resellers come to buy on behalf of customers, and it's where they can do provisioning and billing. We knew we wanted to split this out from the assisted sales flow, so we could create a tool for power users to give all the capabilities they need to close a deal. Here you can combine many services into a unique solution. You can mark up or mark down the price to profit and margin. You can now even create dynamic free trials using our date controls. So if you want to say provision services 3 days from now, but you don't want to start billing for 2 weeks, you can do that. And later this year, we will have contracts at the subscription level so that you can negotiate on the relationship between the commitment the customer is making and the price you want to offer. And of course, all of this can be saved for later. So if you're a reseller working a few different options at the same time, you could save 3 or 4 different opportunities, come back to it, choose which one you want to finalize later on. Now, another area we've made a lot of investment in is into payouts and collections, so you can reconcile with your resellers. We now have bulk payouts, so you can filter by the price or the date range, or even exclude or include specific resellers, enabling you to automate the payout process. These are powerful tools for anyone trying to scale their indirect sales channel in the digital economy. Now let's talk about the fourth principle, building value hubs, and how AppDirect can take your customer's experience from customized to personalized. The modern consumer has a heightened awareness of what they want and need from their products. It's not enough to be just the product that's before them when they can take out their phone and within a few clicks know the top 10 competitors. You have to provide a differentiated value. And that is the purpose of AppDirect's management services. This is designed to give value add on top of the services customers buy from you, so that it's even more valuable than if they went directly to the provider. And we do this by unifying applications, devices, and users. Your applications, we allow search across everything you buy from AppDirect, so you have one place to go to look for what you need. Users have profiles and chat tools so they can communicate and share pieces of information and stay in touch. And lastly, we have mobile device management for all their devices. Now, one new feature we're really excited about is the ability to share feeds. As a customer, you can create a feed of data, so I can choose the specific applications, the users, and even the search terms that I want to filter the data down to. And then I can share this with my fellow employees. Perhaps I'm trying to scale my team and hire new employees, and I want to notify my entire company whenever somebody joins the team. But I don't have enough licenses in the recruiting app to give everyone access. AppWise gives you the ability to share those notifications so you can get data out and beyond the applications where they were generated. Now, the other side of the management suite is App Insights. This is where you get graphs, visualizations, and dashboards showing you all how your data is performing and learning from that data. Now, we wanted to make App Insights useful to everyone from day one of using the AppDirect platform. So now, marketplace managers, reseller managers, resellers, and even end customers have default dashboards available right from the get-go. So you can start learning how your business is performing right away. And now to speak about the final principle and how you can grow with multidimensional commerce, please help me welcome Colin Chong.
Thank you, Jasper. Controlling supply chains. What does this look like if you're going to endure the digital revolution? You might already oversee something like this. A linear process that goes from taking raw materials from suppliers to creating a product to going to retail and distribution before getting to customers. But this isn't the competitive supply chain of the future. Each one of these functions will get smarter, and they will adapt to those first principles we mentioned. They'll become platforms. They'll decentralize. They'll send indirectly. They'll create value hubs that draw in customers further. And at AppDirect, we've been spending over a decade building technology and tools to help you prepare for this digital revolution. And we're doubling down to really create complete solutions for multidimensional commerce, no matter the kind of product, be it service, software, or hard good. Now, a key component of control is a robust system of record. And for that, we're introducing the purchase history. The purchase history is that source of truth for transactions and statuses. So no matter the fulfillment type, it's that single place where anyone, be it a customer or customer service, can find out what was bought, by whom, through which channel, and where it is in that process of fulfillment. This means that anyone has access to the most pertinent information about their ecosystem at any time. And across the ecosystem, different parties will demand different views into billing. With our new invoice builder, you'll be able to easily customize the look and feel and content for invoices. This means that the pricing, the products, and the branding will be just the way that you intended it. And this isn't just for you. This capability is for your partners as well. So any of the relationships and the transactions for them are clearly and accurately represented. For physical products, we've been working with many of you to better understand how AppDirect can be incorporated into your existing supply chains so that your evolution is seamless. And the first improvement we've made here is an entirely new section for marketplace managers to configure shipping. This includes setting key variables like origin warehouse locations and business rules for when shipping actually takes place. The second is zones. Zones allows you to define geographical territories down to the state or province level so that you can only ship where you want to support. Suppose you're a regional service provider here in Quebec. Now you can restrict business to just customer here at home. Zones also carries their own shipping processes, so you can support multiple carriers and shipment methods across the globe. We are thrilled to be helping you cultivate strong supply chains so that multidimensional commerce is your evolutionary advantage. But there's a lot of ground to cover. As Nicholas mentioned prior, decentralization is crucial, and that applies to our platform as well. We need to have strong extensibility and great partnerships to ensure you get best-of-breed capabilities. To give you a little more insight into that, I'd like to invite up Shade Ramanyan.
Speak about the importance of embracing decentralization through ecosystems. And I'd like to take a moment to tell you what that actually means for us here at AppDirect. Now, we know that we're actually just one part of a complex IT landscape, a complex business IT landscape for many of you. That's why we've always made a point of being able to integrate with other systems. We know that each of those systems has its area of expertise. Ours is subscription commerce. We've been doing this for 10 years, and as our product team just showed you, we continue to innovate on the core aspects of the platform. But we also recognize the value that others can bring to the table. And this is the very expertise that we've packaged together and brought to the forefront in the add-on store. At last year's Engage, we announced our connectors, our iPaaS connectors, in partnership with Elastic.io. This year, I'm excited to tell you that we have over 40 partner solutions that will help you achieve unique business objectives. Let's say that you're a listing marketplace and you're thinking about becoming transactional. In the add-on store, you can find solutions for payment gateways, tax engines, and fraud prevention solutions. But those aren't the only solutions you'll find in there. You'll also find offerings from our 3 newest partners. The first is probably no stranger to the folks in this room. Through reviews, G2 arms business buyers with the information they need to make a purchase decision. And with our latest integration, we've brought that power directly into your marketplace, making it a one-stop shop for your customers. If you're a manufacturer in the audience and you're looking to differentiate your hardware experiences, look no further than Engineered Arts. They can help you in 2 ways. First, they can help you provision and charge for a la carte subscription services. So imagine how Telstra ships cars but charges an additional fee to activate the autopilot feature. Well, you can bring the same experience to your hardware. Second, they can help you appify your physical goods by mapping the complex attributes of your devices to a development environment where others can build software. And last is Coveo, which is actually homegrown talent from right here in Quebec, and a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader. Through AI-powered search and recommendations, they help you drive greater conversion rates in your marketplace by connecting the right product with the right customer. To tell you more about these new solutions and these new partners, please welcome to the stage our VP of Marketing, Joshua Schnoll.
Good morning, everyone. I'm incredibly excited to bring up leaders from 3 outstanding companies to tell you a little bit about what they're going to be offering through the AppDirect add-on store. I'd like to get started by inviting Louis Tetu. He's the CEO and chairman of Coveo. Previous to Coveo, he was the CEO of Taleo, which was a talent and HR management company that was acquired by Oracle in 2012. And previous to that, he was the president of Bond SCS, which was a supply chain management group of Bond Software. Please give a warm welcome to Louis Tetu.
Whereas now we can essentially provision the
Pleasure to
services
have
right
you on stage today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And then this is a
And-
coffee maker. Are you with ABB?
Well,
or?
I think we got a little microphone.
Oh, it's that easy. Okay.
Can we turn off Dan's microphone? So, Louis, it's great to have you here, and love for you to share a little bit more about Coveo with our audience, and tell them a little bit about how Coveo can add value to the AppDirect ecosystem.
Very good. So think about Google, think about Uber, think about Netflix and Amazon, and what do they all have in common? I'll say first off, they know how to take money from you, and they know how to do it recurrently. But interestingly is they do that by delivering outstanding experiences, and they understand the balance between both. In fact, coming here this morning, my Uber ride was 2.4x. So they know how to do that. They know how to optimize that interaction at a very surgical level. We believe that growth is not only about delivering superior and personal customer experiences, that's table stake. There's 1,000 people out there that talk about personalization and so on. But it's about doing so by making money, by understanding the business imperatives of customer service, of commerce, and so on. And fundamentally, AI and data is the game changer here, and that's why Coveo exists. So who we are is we're a SaaS vendor, and essentially we use AI and data to deliver high degrees of personalization across commerce, websites, customer service, and workplace. And we're the #1 AI play in Canada, about 1,500 customers on a global basis, and certainly a very proud AppDirect partner. We're also among the top 25, 30 App Exchange partners with Salesforce. We do business with ServiceNow, Microsoft, Adobe, Zendesk, Sitecore, etc. So we're pretty pervasive. We're sort of a brand behind a brand. In fact, many of your companies, I was looking at all the participants here in the room, and we look forward to meet with you. are users of Coveo in various areas of your organizations, as you can see here. And so essentially, what we do, we started off, we track routes back in the days 10 years ago in enterprise search, and we were a leader back then. At least as defined by Gartner and Forrester in this whole area called enterprise search. And by using search, not so much as a retrieval mechanism, but as a way to stitch data across various systems, we can essentially create a composite user profile. And so we can learn a lot. We can get a lot of details about what a user is, what they do, and essentially by adding analytics and machine learning, we can get in the world of not only delivering what content experiences around what people need, but understanding what they need next, become really, really predictive. So for us, it's really about enabling a strategy where you're moving from persona to persons. As I said earlier on the opening slide, if you're dealing with 1 million people, you need to deliver 1 million experiences, because that's what the companies I mentioned at the beginning, how do you make, that's what they do. They don't raise the bar, they are the bar. Netflix, Amazon. So how do you make an AppDirect marketplace? How do you create a Netflix-like experience on an AppDirect marketplace? And this is true at Dell. If you look across Dell, Coveo is the engine that powers a lot of their self-service and et cetera. Also a lot of their commerce, a lot of the auto-categorization of products and the navigation and the personalized ranking on the Dell websites that drives superior conversion is powered by Coveo. But I thought what would be most relevant to this audience is what we do across Salesforce.com, and I'll end with that. Coveo, in fact, is at work on all the global websites at Salesforce to create a dynamic experience. We do all the self-service to push content and drive call deflection. We're integrated within Service Cloud, within their contact centers. We're the guys recommending within Trailhead the next training course and badge you should take. But more importantly for you guys is we power the App Exchange. And all the data we collect from the consumer experience, in fact, creates. And the goal here was really to create on the App Exchange that Netflix-like experience. As you can see here, that as we understand who's browsing here, we understand how to recommend content inspired by searches, inspired by even how they use the application, what packages they've installed, and whatever data signal we can get from across the system, and basically use machine learning, change the paradigm completely, and use machine learning to drive very intricate experiences across the entire App Exchange and understand how they can navigate and so on. So that is, in a nutshell, what we do. There's a session this afternoon. That's a bit of a commercial. There's a session this afternoon at 4 p.m. called Enabling Self-Service Experiences, where you can see what we've built together with App Exchange. This is very, very exciting. And I'd like maybe the Coveo team in the room to stand up, and so you can identify them. There you go. There are a few. They're hitting in the room, and you can meet with them. So looking forward to meeting all of you. And thank you, Josh, for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
No.
Thank you.
So next, I'd like to introduce Will Jackson. And Will Jackson started building robots when he was 13 years old. And since that time, he's looked to integrate technology and creativity in everything that he's done. He's worked in a very interesting variety of careers. He's been in design, he's been in advertising, and in 2005, he merged these together and he founded Engineered Arts. Engineered Arts was designed to create unique humanoid robots. They've got robots deployed in 27 countries around the world in organizations as unique as Merlin Entertainment, Cisco, and PwC. And for those of you that were here last year, you saw one of Engineered Arts' robots on stage. Otto, the singing robot, was from Engineered Arts. Please give a warm welcome to Will Jackson. Will, it's great to have you here.
Thanks, Joshua.
So could you tell us a little bit more about Engineered Arts?
Okay, so when we founded Engineered Arts back in 2005, we were really a science communication company. It wasn't teaching in classrooms, not universities. We were teaching to the public. So hundreds of people, thousands of people in venues like science centers, museums, visitor attractions, theme parks, that kind of thing. So it could be even 10,000 people in a day that we were communicating with, millions of people in a year. We found the best way that we could communicate to people was talk to them. But as most of you here know today, that talking to a couple of hundred people is pretty tiring, and by the time you get to 10,000, you'll be lucky to be still standing up. So we had an idea. Maybe we could automate the process of human interaction. Maybe we could make a machine that could not just speak, but gesture, pull expressions, be emotive, communicate with people in a human way. Our first humanoid robot, Robothespian, Otto is one of those, was born.
Excellent. So I'm guessing along the way that you encountered a number of different challenges as you were creating these different robots.
Yeah, the biggest one that we hit, so here we are building early days hardware, then the big problem comes, what's the software stack for running all of this? And we looked around, and really, there just wasn't anything there back in 2005. So we need something for content creation and distribution. We had a huge number of just physical parameters to set for all this hardware. We needed to debug, we needed to configure, we needed to maintain. We needed to teleoperate, so you can take over a robot with a human operator at a distance. And we needed to integrate third-party apps. And we needed to run across multiple platforms. So it might be a small embedded device running on Raspberry Pi, or it could be x86 running Intel-type platform. Jump forward 14 years later. So one of the decisions we made right at the start was to be platform agnostic. Back in 2005, we weren't even talking cloud then, we were talking server-side. Cloud came later. But it turned out to be a smart decision. We built a virtual robot platform, a 3D simulation of hardware in the cloud that we could use to program real hardware. We built UIs for managing these big data sets, ways of visualizing that data, so Probe you see there. We built an interface, kind of like Skype without Skype, for talking through robots, which was Tin Man. And then we built wrappers for bringing in third-party services like Google Voice speech recognition, face recognition, and then we ported that to different platforms.
So this is all pretty heady stuff. I'm curious if you could tell folks a little bit how you see some of these technologies applying in the AppDirect world.
Okay, so imagine the appification of hardware. So you're used to seeing apps as software. Now imagine that you could take various novel hardware platforms. In this illustration, we're showing perhaps an industrial robotic scenario. So here we have an operator who's configuring something as a virtual simulation in a cloud, and they can choose the functionality, the features, how fast they want this robot to go, what kind of stacking it needs to do. They can configure all that, see that represented virtually in the cloud, and it's not just a 3D image you're seeing, it's a complete model of the dynamics of that system. So you're seeing the movement, you're seeing just how this thing would be in reality. That can then translate to physical hardware. The customer can provision just the features that they need, and they can add on, take away as they need to when their requirements change for that kind of hardware. So this is a great application, I think, for this kind of software platform. Looking at another scenario, so one of the big problems that we faced in our early days was supporting hardware. Very early on, we were exporting robots to many different countries. I personally spent a lot of time on airplanes, and I thought, we have to solve this problem. We needed some way of remotely diagnosing hardware. So we built what we call now Probe or Scope as a web-based application that could monitor data on remote hardware anywhere. Super powerful, so useful. Now we can talk to our customers. We can say, sure, we see what the problem is. You've just got to tweak this. We'll alter that. Everything will be fine. Before, we used to get conversations like, oh, it just kind of doesn't work and it's a bit weird. And we were like what weird? You know, like, so now we don't have those conversations anymore. Sure. We know before our customers know what the problem is, and we can proactively be maintaining their hardware.
Excellent. So, I guess last scenario. Can you walk us through a little bit on that?
Okay, so one other scenario you might have. So we're used to seeing visualizations of individual hardware objects. Imagine you've got a collection of hardware that doesn't always play nicely together. Imagine you could present that to your customer and include all of this additional data, all of the other parameters, allow them to have a kind of in-browser CAD system, if you will, but very focused, very tailored to their requirements, their experience. So they can make selections of, in this illustration, complex industrial switchgear system. I know from my own experience trying to source all this stuff is just mind-boggling nightmare. You know, oh, that doesn't go with that, you have to do this. So this is another area where you can provide a much simplified experience for the consumer.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh.
A round of applause for Will. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our final speaker is Matt Gorniak. He's a CRO of G2. Previous to G2, he was the CRO of SteelBrick, which was acquired by Salesforce. And previous to that, Big Machines, which was acquired by Oracle. Please welcome Matt Gorniak.
Thank you.
Matt, it's great to have you here. Could you tell us a little bit more about G2?
I'm glad you asked.
Yay.
So, hello, Montreal. First time here. J'adore Montreal.
Yay.
Grew up in Europe, and I took French. I got a D, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So, yeah, I'd love to tell you about G2. So, a couple of things. The inspiration behind G2 was powered by our desire to create a platform where we're entrepreneurs, where we're desperately looking for a place where we could build good product, take care of our customers, and have the product speak for itself, meaning our product back then. And 8 years ago, there was no such place. And then as our companies grew to 300, 400, 500 employees, we're starting buying tech. And at that time, we're desperately looking for advice. What should I buy? What should I get? And we realized very quickly that there is no unbiased information by users like us. And the model was very broken. And also at the same time, that was obviously where like Glassdoor, TripAdvisor, Yelp was getting a lot of traction. And we realized we get more information on buying a pizza next door than on spending $100,000 on a piece of software. So we thought there's something we got to do about that. So that was the genesis of G2. If you fast forward to today, what's really fascinating is the whole Keynote is absolutely what we're all about, which is digital transformation. It's very real. I can tell you our data doubles, triples year over year. So the product's listed. The whole world's gone software crazy. And the niches and categories, you would be amazed. We have funeral management software. Anyway, I mean, I can go on and on. But there's vendors who build a good product and buyers who want to buy it, right? So that's today. Now, a little bit, I was mentioned to you in the
yeah, we were talking a little bit. We were talking a little bit about this crisis of trust.
So that's really fascinating because we had our user conference last week in Chicago, and we asked we have over 2,000 customers. We asked them, like, what's your propensity to buy more tech? And the overwhelming answer will not be surprising to you because you're fueling it here. Is we are interested in a lot more tech. We want to get the edge. We want to do omni-channel and multi-channel, whatever you want, right? It's all there. We're like, that's awesome, that's great. But there was another question, which is really multiple questions around the engagement with these vendors. And turns out the trust of engaging with vendors has gone way down. And so there's a bit of a crisis, which is you want to evaluate a lot of software, but at the same time, the engagement model doesn't work anymore. And it's not just the vendors. It's not against the vendors, but pretend to be a buyer, right? I mean, that's literally what you're experiencing. Good luck putting an RFP out there. Put your cell phone number on the web, you know? I mean, that's what they're experiencing anyway. But also the traditional model, right? Like the analysts, they're non-practitioners. So the buyers are waking up now. I mean, the reality is, apart from Fortune 100, there is no such thing as analysts. People want to know what buyers are, what other vendors, what their peers are using. So that's kind of the crisis of trust. Now, we also did ask him, what's your preferred way of gaining that trust? And unsurprising, it is my friends, peers, and colleagues. But the bad news is not everyone's got a lot of friends that use certain pieces of software. The thing right next to that is peer reviews. So we found that very powerful. I just want to make sure you guys understand that all, because that's the reality. A lot of buyers wanted to go very fast, and they wanted to do it in a trusted way.
Excellent. So I think you've got a little bit more detail about G2 that you share here. So
I do. Thank you. So a couple of things about the company. Just, the model is really working well. Our job is to be a trust engine, basically, for products that that are out there helping you move your companies forward. To give you some data points, we get about 3 million unique buyers a month coming to, and we're a marketplace, by the way, where it's a review marketplace, where people evaluate, choose software, and also leave reviews. That's the main part for the integration here. But we expect that traffic to triple. So we see in our data basically the desire for buyers to engage with trusted content. Reviews as well. This slide's slightly dated. We're about to hit our 1 million review milestone, and also we expect to double it next year. So that's what we're seeing. I loved Nick's keynote, like the hockey stick. We're kind of on that trend as well, like many of us. Funding, we have amazing investors we're very proud of, and over 2,000 customers. So give you a sense of, and 400 employees, give you a sense of the scale, and for the trust economy, I would call that.
Yeah, so if you could share a little bit about some of the work that you're doing with Kronos.
Yeah, so what I love about so first of all, we're super excited to be here. Thanks for having us. And we're excited to announce live here at the conference our partnership with AppDirect, which I think is very exciting. And what you see coming together, I think it's great for all of our joint customers and the B2B buyers out there, is you have a very elegant end-to-end commerce platform that's integrated with our G2 Trust platform. And now you essentially, with point and click, plug and play, I would say, there's always a little bit of work involved, you have the ability to add instant trust to the transactions. So that's very, very exciting. So it's an effortless way of enriching your marketplace. And again, think from the buyer perspective, that's what you want, right? The important thing is that you pretend you're buying something and you see a marketplace offering that doesn't have trusted content, one that does. You just press the button faster. That's really what you're bringing to the market. And what we're so grateful for is Kronos. I don't know if they're somewhere in the audience. Thank you for being a great customer and being an early adopter and early to the market with this joint offering. And it's live on their marketplace. And also, if you'd like to learn more about that, an ad by me, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's the same session that...
Exactly, you did that too. At 4 p.m. this afternoon, we have our team with the Kronos team go into more detail. So,
excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So as mentioned before, all of these folks will be, so Engineered Arts has a booth outside. You can check out a little bit of what they're doing. And then we have a session later on today. We'll have folks from Coveo and G2, as well as Kronos, talking through a little bit more about these technologies. So it is my honor to pass over in this last session that will talk through a little bit about some of the great work that all of you are doing with the platform. Please give a warm welcome to our CTO, Andy Sen.
Thank you, Joshua, and thank you all for being here. It is my great privilege today to talk about how our customers and partners are using the AppDirect platform to really drive digital endurance. And our customers are not just enduring, they're succeeding. Over the last year, we've seen an increase of 3x in the annual revenue transacted on the AppDirect platform. This is due to the success that you've had in selling to end customers and the confidence that you have in migrating existing books of business onto the AppDirect platform. Now, over the next 2 days of this conference, you'll be hearing from a lot of our customers. There are breakout sessions and keynotes and talks and panels from ADP, Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, Keller Williams, and many more. What I'm going to be doing now is spending a little time just highlighting some of those and explaining how they fit into this paradigm of digital endurance and the strategies that you needed there. Now, the first principle is to maintain harmony. Endurers harmonize with their environment. They stay sensitive to their environment, always learning from and adapting to changing times and trends. And as a monetization and cloud management platform, the first aspect of that is to be able to customize. And the AppDirect platform has always been a highly customizable one, always white labeled, always allowing customers to build on top of it. Deutsche Telekom, for example, have built out an extensive content management system around AppDirect, where they explain the value props of all the products there, specifically to the small medium business user in Germany. ADP has experimented with the interface and have seen real increases in both engagement and conversion. The storefront builder that was announced today allows us to customize even faster, more, and easily. The add-ons that we just mentioned, both G2 as well as Coveo, was built on top of this new technology. But that's just the beginning. You can now customize your commerce experience. Once you take customization, you add to that the ability to click and create marketplaces, and then you add to that features like the network add-on, which allow you to manage centrally a wide variety of marketplaces, and you have now moved to becoming a real platform. We have had several customers who are already on this journey today. Simon from Vodafone will talk later about how Vodafone has currently 6 marketplaces live right now across multiple geographies, with the potential to add dozens more in the future. No strategy is more emblematic of the digital age than the growing trend of embracing decentralization. You could say this was kicked off by Apple when Steve Jobs was persuaded, took some persuasion, to open up the iPhone platform to third-party developers, which gave us the App Store, the most successful ecosystem today. And AppDirect customers have been creating digital ecosystems around their product for a long time. One of our early customers was ADP, and like Apple, they also have an extensive ecosystem of third-party providers, some of them cooperating, some of them competing on other aspects of their business. Recently, Keller Williams had a large developer convention where they incentivized developers to build on the joint Keller Williams and AppDirect platform and gave out prizes to the most innovative solutions. But we're all sort of familiar with how software ecosystems and high-tech ecosystems work. But ecosystems are everywhere. Telcos, for example, have always bundled services and products complementary to their offerings. Here, you can see an example of Swisscom. They have a product which is essentially IT as a service to small, medium businesses all over Switzerland. I'm told there are billboards advertising this. I haven't seen the billboards myself, but we have seen the success that this is driving on the platform today. And it's not just services. Traditionally, telcos have sold large complementary pieces of hardware to their enterprise customers. They have sold firewalls, networking equipment, SIM cards, phones, many of which are being caught up by this trend of digitization. Instead of physical SIM card, most modern phones today have eSIMs. Instead of selling large networking equipment which are installed in your data centers, we now have software-defined networks that can all be put on the marketplace and sold as part of a compelling package. And you can go even beyond telecom. And I'm going to talk a little bit about ABB. They have the coffee machine outside. You've seen the robots making you a great cup of espresso. But they're also probably more well-known for very large industrial equipment, giant power transformers which power an entire factory or a group of factories. And ABB has selected AppDirect to be their partner in digitization. We're working with multiple of their business groups. And you could ask, well, you're selling a giant transformer. How does that lend itself to digitization? How do you digitize such an enormous piece of equipment? And the reality is that there are many ways that it can be done. First of all, the data that that transformer is emitting, the primary data about what's going on, what are the electrical cycles like, all of that can be packaged. They can be enhanced via software, so you get additional measuring capabilities. That can be put on a marketplace. That is digitized. You can monitor the equipment to see how it's doing, so you can proactively know when you might need maintenance for it. That's a digital package. And finally, you can take both these types of data, combine it with artificial intelligence, and come up with a system which provides insights on economic risks and successes of how the entire project is doing, which is really a great example of both digitization as well as the trend towards artificial intelligence that Nicholas talked about. The next trend is around value hubs. Again, something that the AppDirect and the AppDirect platform has been doing for a while. We build and bring applications, devices, and people together. And I'm going to give you some very diverse examples of value hubs that we have helped create. The first one is CleverTouch, who are a hub of a classroom experience. They build large, flat-screen televisions which have the ability to run educational applications on them. These are obviously then put into classrooms where they can be used by the teachers and the students. We have built and enabled multiple layers of personalization on them. To begin with, the school administration can decide what kind of applications should be on these devices. Further, an individual teacher can decide which applications make sense for his or her classroom. And of course, the apps themselves can be personalized for each individual student. So, a real example of how personalization drives a technology from being a solution to a hub. Next is Verifone. Verifone and AppDirect are going beyond payments. A point-of-sale terminal like Verifone is really the hub of any retail experience. At the end of the day, the customer comes in, they browse, but the important thing is they have to make the sale. They have to complete the transaction. And so what happens on these point-of-sale devices is vital to the retail owner. Now, the reality is, in retail and hardware, is that there are many different types of Verifone devices. There are different versions of the devices, with new versions coming out pretty frequently. So when a retail owner decides to buy a third-party application, let's say they buy an inventory management tool, AppDirect, the app devices functionality within AppDirect, we make sure that that third-party application is consistently installed across all devices and all versions of the devices, so that from the retail point of view, the owner has one consistent experience, the customer has one consistent experience, and this can be the hub of the whole retail experience. And finally, I'd like to talk about Jaguar Land Rover. There's a Jaguar, there's a Range Rover car behind there, which I welcome everyone to check out. Now, cars are a natural extension of ourselves. People base a lot of their personal brand on the cars that they drive. We've been working with Jaguar Land Rover for a while. Right now, every one of their vehicles, all over the world, the dashboard is controlled by AppDirect. The apps on the dashboard, whether they're news, music, weather, they're personalized and powered by AppDirect. But we have taken that one level further, so that now those apps, those personalized apps, are no longer just available in the dashboard, but will be available on the mobile device of the driver themselves, further cementing the place as a real personal hub. At AppDirect, we spend a lot of effort enabling our customers to grow effortlessly. You've already seen the product announcements about our app reseller capabilities. And we've had a lot of success. We've seen a lot of success with our customers. We started with SoftBank in Japan, there's Dustin, And right now, I want to just spend a little time highlighting Cancom, one of our app reseller customers in Europe. They've been with us on a great journey. They've helped push the envelope. They've been one of our early adopters. They were the first of our customers to sell AWS, and they've seen great results. They've been beating their targets consistently. But once again, this ability isn't just restricted to software. All kinds of agents selling all kinds of hardware, software, and services can use these same capabilities. And they don't even need to think of themselves as resellers. They could be anything from agents, real estate brokers, teachers, or all of anyone who has to sell a third-party product and then be able to collect revenue and reconcile it among different parties. All of them can use the app reseller module that you see here today. And direct to indirect isn't the only opportunity to grow effortlessly. The world is a big place, and unlocking global sales is definitely a key way that a lot of companies would want to expand. However, expanding globally is not that easy. One of our first customers was here in Canada, so the AppDirect platform has always been multilingual, supported multiple currencies, but it's not just languages and currencies which make business across countries different. There are regulations, both government, there's regulations in terms of what people expect, everything from privacy laws to even how line items are rounded up and down can change. And the AppDirect platform is built to help you succeed on your global journey. In the last couple of days, many of the AppDirect engineers right here in Montreal have been working on PSD2, which is a compliance mandated by the European Union for all credit cards. They've been working internally, they've been working with our payment gateway partners. It's not the most demoable feature, but it's essential. And so, if you want to unlock global sales and grow effortlessly worldwide, it's really important to realize that you have a partner like AppDirect, because we spend a lot of effort clearing the path for you to do so. Now, this idea of multidimensional commerce, using multidimensional commerce to really enhance and optimize your digital supply chain. We've been talking about this for a couple of years. We've been releasing a lot of features which help you. So here's some concrete examples. Time to market for a product, getting a product from inception all the way to a point where it can be sold, is clearly a very important part of the digital supply chain. Thank you, Matthew, for this kind testimonial. But once again, it's important to know that just getting a product onto a marketplace is just the beginning of the journey. All these products that are onboarded can now be marketed together, they can be bundled together, sold together, invoiced together, and once they're sold, they can be managed together from the customer, all from the same interface. That's multidimensional commerce, and that's how you enhance your digital supply chain. And it's not simply about taking one application and pushing it through the supply chain. Now, depending on your use case, you might have a few, dozens, hundreds, or thousands of applications that you want to push through. And we have built a lot around scale as well. Our largest marketplaces now have over 3,000 independent applications that are bought, sold, managed out there. And finally, just want to spend a few minutes talking about AppDirect and digital endurance. To succeed in the new economy, you want a partner who will digitally endure. And AppDirect, the company, the product, we spend some time thinking about the lessons of digital endurance and how to apply them. You just heard a lot about our new add-on store, which is decentralization. But along with that, we've spent a lot of effort in even further becoming a platform. We have broken up our former monolithic architecture into a set of small services which are managed by Kubernetes. Now, what's the benefit to you? Well, the benefit to you is that these small services can far more easily be combined together, enhanced, so new features, whether they're infrastructure, new customizations, can all be built quickly and delivered to you in a faster and more secure environment. And there's another benefit of that as well. As we have broken up the platform, we can now deploy the AppDirect platform across any hyperscale cloud provider, either wholly or partially. Now, this gives you choice, of course, but it also helps reduce our operational costs. And the cost savings that we get, we plow right back into innovation, plow right back into new features. And demonstrating these innovations, announcing them, talking about them is what we're going to do for the next couple of days here at Engage. There's so many booths and innovation breakthroughs out there. But to me, it's still just the second most important part of this conference. The first is all of you. It's about you. And it's about hearing your stories about what you're doing with the platform or what you intend to do with the platform. Having all of us together here in Montreal for the next 2 days and getting those lessons, celebrating our triumphs, talking about our challenges is what I think makes this conference so great. I'm really looking forward to it, and all of you, please have a great Engage. Thank you.